Hello everyone, this is a short video about the power of words. Um, so I want to set up an idea first, and this idea is called the web of beliefs. And if my memory serves me right, it was developed by W.V.O. Quine, who was a very influential 20th century logician and philosopher. The general idea is, and I'll use this tool right here. The general idea is that we have a bunch of beliefs. And we in the middle we have a big, our core beliefs, right? And then they're all connected. And so this is kind of like we were talking about last time. So we have all these connections here, and these little circles again represent the different beliefs. If you remember, beliefs include things like that is a chair, and things like I'm angry at Bill. Uh, Emotions are beliefs as well and should be treated like beliefs. And so the idea with the web of beliefs is you have all these beliefs kind of spiraling out, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, right? There's more and more webs, right? But they're all kind of connected. Now, how are they connected? That's the question. How are all of the, uh, excuse me, how are all of those little nodes connected? For us, they're going to be connected conceptually. And now, of course, they're connected through associations. But I want to talk to you about the meanings of the words, the power rather, of words. So your concepts are going to be verbal to a large extent. But however, a lot of the concepts are going to include things like emotions and bodily sensations as well. So we have this um, all of our mind, all of the understanding of the way the world is constructed uh, by us through meaning, through our beliefs and our connections, through language to a large extent. And so a lot of times people will complain about, oh, that's just a semantic debate, or we're arguing over meanings of words. And but the trouble is, and sometimes that's legitimate, by the way, but the trouble is that words actually they carry the world with it because the way meaning works is through reference. The idea is that so you have a word like Andrew, and you're wondering, well, how does that word get its meaning? Um, the idea is that you have someone, right? So you have an individual. So this is Andrew, and Andrew, then the word gets its meaning because it picks out this guy. I mean, the same thing is true with the word chair or anything like that, right? Words get their meaning because they pick stuff out in the world. And so words then they carry the world with it. It's our way of engaging with the world. And so words then for us psychologically carry a lot of weight. The way we speak to other people, when we speak to ourselves, communicates a lot of information. There's a lot of noise out there um, that we don't want it to. And so then it's important then to kind of be precise with our words and understand that our words are actually important because it's really the only way that we can really engage the world is through our understanding. And that's going to be mostly then through your words. So words have a lot of power to them. Words get their meaning through reference, right? Through picking something out in the world. And and if you're interested in that, it's called the causal theory of meaning, and it was developed by a guy named Saul Kripke, who unfortunately recently passed away. Um, Now, all this is to say that the your mind then is creating the world for you, right? It's populating it with that system one observations. It's making narratives with its system to processing, uh, convincing convincing us that we're more that these automatic judgments are more and more and more accurate. And so there's a little bit of an issue, however, and that issue comes when we believe our own beliefs and we think with our beliefs always instead of about our beliefs. So there's a difference between thinking with your thoughts and thinking about your thoughts. Of course, all most of the time you can't be thinking about your thoughts. That would be awful. Um, but there's a sense to which we need to understand that we don't need to trust our own beliefs, because remember, the way your belief is formed is through automatic processes, right? And remember, those automatic processes, its goal is not to get the truth. Rather, its function is survival, mostly relationships secondarily. And so the system that we're left with is not particularly designed to give you accurate beliefs. It's designed to keep you alive and to develop relationships. So when we think with our beliefs, with our thoughts, if we believe our beliefs and we're using them, we're thinking with our, and this is important, I should address this here. Um, if we're thinking with our beliefs and with our emotions, then oftentimes we're going to run into issues of ignorance, because we're not going to be open to information that is contradictory to the way we feel, right? So if sometimes if you hear something that you disagree with, well, we get this feeling like this, no, right? So, like, for example, obviously I do not believe this, but if I said, "Hey guys, let's go torture a kitten," that would be really fun. You're gonna be like, "What the heck? No, what's wrong with this guy?" Right? But and so that's good. Now, but here is the thing though, that automatic response, that's the automatic response isn't an indication that that is an accurate thing or that it's true. It just tells you that you don't like it, right? Um, and so when we're thinking now, obviously doing that to a cat is bad, but there's a lot of other things. So even if I said, hey, God exists, you're going to either say, either that's going to feel to you like yes, or it's going to feel to you like, if no. Or if I said, God does not exist, you're going to, some of you are going to be like, heck yeah, and some of you are going to be like, what? Ew, no. And so that response, though, is just an indication of what you believe, right? And those beliefs are developed by System 1 operations, gathering information, associations that oftentimes are randomly connected, which then construct some sort of attention outline, a border that create norms and schemas. And so this kind of thinking with this sort of system or believing the thoughts that are produced by that automatic system and even that control system is not going to give you accuracy or, and oftentimes, unfortunately, especially if you think with your emotions and with your thoughts all the time, well-being. It's going to reduce your well-being. Um, we don't. And I think hopefully talking to strangers is and making this impressing this upon you how easy it is for us to misunderstand things. For example, the idea of default truth, right? Why are we trusting all these people? How can we be all so fooled by people that we don't know, by people that we know better than anyone else in our lives? Um, or how can we trust people who are stealing from us and we don't think they are, even when we have no reason to think that, already made up, right, for example. So why do we default to truth? We get it wrong when people are mismatched, right? If you remember that chapter. Why do we believe in transparency? Namely, why is it that we believe we can tell what someone's thinking or feeling if we by observing them? Turns out that's not true for a large percent of the population. So it's the myth of transparency. That's another thing we learned from Gladwell. But the thing is, if we believe our beliefs and we think with our thoughts and we think with our emotions, we don't double check them, then we're going to get into that cycle. We're going to get into this misery ignorance cycle of having inaccurate implicit beliefs or judgments that develop. And then your system too is going to concoct a story about why these are correct. So we don't want to think with our thoughts all the time. Sometimes we want to check them, right? We don't need to believe them. A good example of this would then be, excuse me, something like a light switch. And I believe I told you about this before in a video. You should think about your automatic beliefs and your automatic emotions and responses as light switches. So input comes in, it activates the switch, says anger, you're mad. Why is it that the waiter, the way he behaved, made you mad? Why did it turn on that switch? So, an example of thinking or acting or thinking with your beliefs, then in this case, would be to then think that you were justified in your anger and act, accordingly, which typically is going to involve some sort of revenge. Maybe it's giving a bad tip or saying something rude on Yelp or something. Um, Now, so the thing is that what we want you to do, and what's important with the words and how it relates to the web beliefs and all that stuff, what we want you to do then is think about your judgments. Think about your thinking. Don't always think with it, because when you think with it, again, you become the kind of fairly ignorant um, and unable to process your own thinking. Now, as this relates to the power of words, the words that we use, they create meaning for us and salience and groupings of ideas and feelings and associations. Because words carry along with them concepts and associations. So, for a good example of the power of words is like, say, negative self-talk or something. This sort of thing has been shown to have significant, you know, mental health and also physical uh, health effects. And so it's quite easy to change your whole attitude just by the way that you speak to yourself or about yourself or other things. Um, and this has been shown in empirical results as well. So the words that we use are very powerful. Um, now, so we do often think with the words we use, and we often don't think about the words we use. And so if I am often, say, critical of a particular, you know, idea or something, what, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sift out the stuff that supports it, or at least if I have initial reaction, the stuff that supports it, I'd be like, no, whatever, and discount, right? But that, again, is a system one reaction saying, ugh, to that. Um, So if we think with our thoughts, then we'll follow that intuition and ignore these guys, right? Or not give them the benefit of the doubt as we're going through and reading them. But if thinking on the model of the system one, system two is light switch example, if you have this intuition, this understanding, this feeling that this is true or this is not true, what that should indicate to you is a signal. Why do I think that? Why did that light switch get flipped on? Uh, What is that connected to? Why did I think in this way instead of in that way? Um, and let me see if I can find my example here. Okay, here we go. So, say there's someone named Alan. Say he's intelligent, industrious, impulsive, oops, critical, stubborn, envious. All right. Now, so here's Alan. We have Alan. He's intelligent, he's industrious, he's impulsive, he's critical, stubborn, and he's envious. And so this is Alan. Now, imagine go down here to the other page. Imagine now we have Ben. He's envious, he's stubborn, critical, impulsive, he's industrious, he's intelligent. Okay, so now we have Ben. Ben is envious, stubborn, critical, impulsive, industrious, and intelligent. Okay, so now who would you prefer to work with? Ben or Alan? Now, most of you are probably going to choose Alan, but notice something, and this has to do with something we'll look at later. But notice that they're the same words: intelligent, industrious, impulsive, critical, stubborn, envious. Envious, stubborn, critical, right? They're just in the reverse order. And that's because the words that you use front in the beginning, they're going to do what's called prime the rest of the words after it. So they're going to then direct your attention to or put this word rather into a particular schema, and that's going to be an intelligent person schema. Over here, that first word is going to put him into an envious uh, person schema. And so certainly an intelligent person can be envious, but usually we value intelligence and we don't value envy. And so intelligence has a positive uh, valence, or a positive charge to it, and enviousness has negative, right? It has negative effect associated to it with it. So but the thing is that they're the same words, the same order. But the words we use, right, the order we put them in, oftentimes can will categorize, will interpret it for you. It's kind of like in literature, a genre. Our mind is putting things in genres. Is this a letter from the bank or is this a letter from my grandma? They're both inviting me to parties, tell me to bring my friends, but the letter from the bank is obviously an ad, and my grandma is just, being nice. So they mean maybe they could have the same words, right? But they would mean different things. So that's what the mind does. The mind takes the word we get and the charge of that word, positive or negative, it's going to put it into a schema, right? And it's going to have in that first word, then the first kind of setup, it's going to prime it, and it's going to then paint it and put it in a genre, paint it and give you context for the rest of it. And so the words that we use, they carry the world with it, and they give our understanding of the world. They can communicate rather our understanding of the world to someone else. So it's a, So it's important to be accurate with our words, but oftentimes it's like difficult to be accurate with your words. Um, and so we're in a next in several videos we'll talk about accuracy in some more detail. But here though I want to bring up the connection with thinking fast and slow. And that's going to relate to thinking with your thoughts and thinking about your thoughts, kind of distinction, right? We don't need to believe our beliefs because often they're incorrect in certain contexts. Um, but note, though, that there's a related issue, especially in Kahneman's book, and that's cognitive ease. So let's start with cognitive ease. Cognitive ease is a function of how much we know about a particular topic that we see as related to what's going on. So, say we're talking about the existence of God, and say you were talking to a staunch atheist or something. And so he's going to, so say he says, "Oh, well, you're having some sort of debate," and he's like, "Well, yeah, God, there is no God, right? Clearly, look at all this stuff around, and he gives his arguments and stuff." And it's very clear to him that God exists. He's very confident, right? And he has that in you, and you see if you ask him, here, down here we go. Let's turn that off. So down here we go, and this is the theist here, God person, and this person over here is the atheist, no God. Okay, so say this person says something, argument, right? And say the person's argument for God knows all this stuff right here, and that's the content he threw out to over here. But look at the difference in content. There's a lot more content over here than there is in this quadrant over here. And so all the stuff he says does not fit with what, so we'll call him Alan the atheist. But no, we did Alan before, right? So let's do, Aaron the atheist. It doesn't fit with what Aaron thinks, right? So he's going to have this intuition, and this intuition would be like, uh, wrong. But why is it wrong? And why is he so confident that it's wrong? Well, he might not have any good reason to think it's wrong, and in this case, clearly he doesn't. But look at this quadrant right here. So if we take about half of it, and then we take, say, I think it's about half of it, we'll draw right on that line or something. So you notice that just in this quadrant right here, it includes twice as much information. And so this one has one association, right? Say between these things, there's an association. There can be a lot of patterns of association here. And so this whatever pattern this person's giving to this person isn't going to match. And Alan then is going to be like wrong really quick, right? He's also going to be very confident because confidence equals confidence is the ease to which you come to a judgment. You form a judgment. So if a judgment comes to you really quickly, oftentimes you're going to, oh, yeah, that's correct, right? Um, Now the thing is that ease, if something's easy to come to, then oftentimes there's not the easiest judgments to make are the ones with the fewest associations. And so a lot of times, some of the people that are most confident turn out to be the most ignorant, and that's the overconfidence heuristic or overconfidence bias. And so cognitive ease is a function of what we know and the beliefs we have and their associations. If there are a lot of beliefs populated that area, then confidence goes down typically. If you ask experts about particular things, of course they can be very confident, even if they know a lot. Frequently, however, the more an expert knows about a topic, the less confident she or he is about that topic, because it's life is really complicated, and the more you know, the more you realize that. And so, cognitive ease happens with everyone, even experts about particular things, of course. And so, but if someone is ignorant in a particular area, then that cognitive ease is highly unjustified. Something related to cognitive ease is our sense of probability. Can't spell today. Probability and cause and effect, which we might not get to. This video is going a little long. But probability is a function. If let me put it this way. So a lot of times someone will say, if I ask you, hey, how probable um, is it likely that say your partner or your friend will be home in time? Say, yeah, it's like I think it's likely. It's highly likely. Like if I had to give you, if I pushed you, say to give me a percentage, you would say like 95%. They're always in time. As far as you're concerned. So I say, okay, that's great. Um, then I said, well, give me the math on that. Like, tell me, like what kind of what's the error on this guy, and how did you come to that mathematically? What are your statistics for this? Well, you're going to be very baffled, right? Um, and the reason is because oftentimes probability or likelihood um, is a function of our expectations. Okay, so remember we have active and passive expectations. An active one, remember from the other video, is that Matt is coming over in 5 minutes. A passive one, say, is that cats do not belong in the house. The other day, the door was left open and a cat cruised into my house and it was a shock, right? I was like, what is this meowing going on? So that's a passive expectation, right? That cats don't roam free in my home. I don't own any cats. So an active expectation. So if I said to you, how likely is it that there'll be a cat roaming around in your house? Now, depending on, say you don't own a cat, but if you do, say a dog, and you don't own a dog, and if you do, then say animal you don't own, right? Nevertheless, say how likely is it that a cat will roam around your house? Well, if you don't own a cat, then you're gonna say pretty darn low, right? But what is that? What does that mean, right? What does it mean? It means that you do not expect a cat to come to walk around in your house. It's a function of your expectations. And so probability uh, has to do with expectations. Is it really a function of your expectations? So, and you can see that this is true, right? So if we can translate this into sentences, if I said, hey, it's likely that it will rain tomorrow. What I'm trying to say is that I expect it to rain tomorrow. That's what that means. It means the same thing. So much so that what oftentimes when we're talking about probability, what we really are talking about is something called rational expectation. Rational expectation. So the idea with rational expectation is if I say something like this, well, if you read this first one, the second one, so I say one, oopsie, one and two. Okay, and then just go ahead and read it. If it's raining, then it's cloudy. It's raining. Well, what do you expect to be on line 3? Read it again. If it's raining, it's cloudy. It's raining. Oh, it's cloudy. That's the expectation. You expect that. That's a rational expectation. So if I set this up with this, read this, and this, then you'll expect number 3 to be it is cloudy. And so that's rational. That's part of rational expectation. Given what you know, you expect such and such to occur. Um, but um, uh, we frequently confuse probability with expectation, and they're just not the same thing. Your expectations of something and my expectations of something are not the same as the likelihood of those things. but that's the function of cognitive ease as it relates to rationality. I mean, as it relates to probability. I don't think we're going to have time to go into causal reasoning this time on this video. It's a little bit long, but for next time we'll cover some more uh, topics that are directed to give your system one habits for forming accurate beliefs and beliefs that help with the other function of beliefs as well, which is well-being. All right. I hope you have a wonderful week.